Welcome back to #Strong. I'm so excited to bring another incredible guest. Today is a special interview. We're meeting the beautiful, the inspiring, and the phenomenal young Hana. Hana is 9 years old. She's a coder. She is taking control of her education and she's being homeschooled. And she's got some incredible ideas and some incredible insights. But today we're just going to talk about what it's like for Hana to be 9, for anybody out there thinking about how does the incredible Hana do what she does. So today, Hana, we're only talking about you. How are you, Hana?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I love having conversations with you. I have so many questions, but I'm going to keep it really simple because I could just talk forever and I want to make sure that we don't take too much of your time today. So, Hannah, before we talk about you being an iOS developer and coding and your ideas for the future of education, I just want to know what it's like to be Hannah at 9 years old when nobody's watching you.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and I'm so excited to be here. And I'm a 9 years old girl. I'm a normal girl. The only thing is that I got advanced education and I'm a coder and we're self-learning.
What are some of the things that you like to do when you're not coding?
So I don't really feel a difference. So I'd still be jumping, reading, playing, painting, drawing, and all many messes, even if I was a coder or wasn't a coder. So coding's just an added skill of ours. I always wanted to be a creator, an innovator. So even if I'm a coder or not, I'd still be doing something to help the people.
I love that, Hannah. Let's talk about your passion for education. What's that all about?
We identified that there were two significant limitations of the current education system, and it was lifting and weighting. And don't worry, I'll explain to you about it. So, a, a student who is really interested in one of the subjects and he finished all the materials and content that the school provided. And he wanted to go to the next grade, but he couldn't go because he didn't complete his academic year. And that's basically waiting. So because he has to wait the entire academic year to get the next level of education. And if a student is not performing so good in one of the subjects, and he wasn't that ready to go to the next grade, and he needed to continue in that grade, but his academic year completed and it was time for him to go to the next grade, and he scored 50%, but the GPA score allowed him to go to the next grade. It doesn't mean that other 50% of his mathematics curriculum is irrelevant, right? So that's basically lifting, going to other grades when you're not ready to do so. And for that, we brought up some solutions. So if the student is performing really well, then he'll go for a test and we'll check how well he performed. And if he's doing great, then he'll go to the next grade. But if he's not performing that well, he'll stay in the same grade. So that would be the solution for waiting. And if a student is not performing so good, even though he consumed the entire academic year, then we'll check the root cause of the problem. Like, what's the root problem of this student. Like maybe in his grade of 2 or 3, he may have had some problems in one of the subject. And maybe because of that, in his higher grades, he's struggling.
Why is this important for you?
Well, because many kids in the world wanted to learn something at their early stage, but they'll have to wait for an entire year to finish that. And it means that I need to wait an entire year to complete a grade. And it wouldn't be so good. So I'm losing my time through this.
So many
So
teachers that would listen to you would say, but Hana, it's really important that you don't just look at learning as what you're learning about knowledge, but going to school in that year is also about making friends. It's also about learning how to work in teams. It's also about learning how to think independently and learning how to create new ideas. When teachers tell you things like that, how does that make you feel when you're thinking, well, I don't want to wait a year for you to tell me when I can learn something. I want to learn that now. And those things, are they important to you, making friends and socializing and interacting with other children? Or is it school, is it that school is more about gaining knowledge in your view?
well, school is basically for making peer groups and having friends to share ideas and thoughts. But I'm not really saying that we don't need schools. I'm saying we need to change the current education system. So I'm telling that schools are needed. We just need to change the current education system.
So, in your idea, when you think about the best education system, what would that look like through your eyes?
Well, I believe we need an education system which is subject-based progress and progress-based grading. So basically, subject-based progress is that if the student is performing really good or based on his progress, then then he'll perform really good in the subject or not. So we'll have a test for that, whether he's performing good or not. And progress-based grading is basically that you are progressing really good in one of the subject, and based on that, we'll grade you. Like maybe you're really good in biology, then we'll grade you in maybe 6 or 7. If you are that good at performing biology.
Hannah, when you think about what it was like to be at school before you decided to become a self-learner, what are some of the things that you miss about going to school?
Well, we do miss friends a bit, but that's about school. And right now we're handling because our parents, friends, and families' children, and we used to go to the park and we'll get some friends to play with. So we'd get friends there, but I didn't really get any peers that were in my level of interest. And I don't think even if I went to school or didn't went to school, I would get a peer that was in my interest. So I believe that if we had social media, that maybe would have been possible, especially in professional networks like LinkedIn. And right now, I have a social media account for LinkedIn handled by my parents, since legally we're not allowed to use social media for children. And I haven't really really got any friendship with people. I'm just following them right now. But maybe when I'm a teenager, I may get many friends.
When you think about the kinds of friends that you are looking to make, I heard you say on your intellectual level that at school you didn't find anyone on that same intellectual level. So now when you think about when you do decide to make friends, what kind of friends would be the right friends for Hana outside of school?
Hmm. Well, um, it doesn't really matter. We just want friends to share our thoughts and ideas, but I never really found a peer that was in my level of interest to share my ideas and thoughts with for that subject. So I believe they are not really teaching much coding in schools. I mean, in we went to four schools, and in our experience, we we didn't really see that much coding in it. I mean, one of the school we went to, okay, we saw many Macs and MacBooks there, and then we got excited and that he would help Lena's coding progress, and we decided to go to that school. After we went to that school, we don't remember a moment seeing those laptops or owning them. And rarely they would take us there. And even if they took us there, we'd just be reading the book and doing some activities.
Wow. So if there was a parent watching this now, thinking about taking their children out of a school to help them with self-learning or homeschooling, what are some of your suggestions that could help parents with their children?
If the parents make children stop schooling, then children are going to miss their friends for sure. So that's why we are trying to fix this problem. We got interviewed by the media, and after we had been interviewed, they said that they want their children to also be self-learned. And how could you tell? How do you teach your children? And they decided we have to self-learn our children. And they were planning to use a curriculum for learning. And from hearing this, it's really going to be a problem for the child because the child is going to lose their peer groups and friends to share their thoughts and ideas. But we need schools, but we just need to change the current education system.
Do you think that is it fair that you're waiting for the education system to change? Do you sometimes think it's not fair that I can't go to school? Does that ever come to your mind?
Well, I I am ready to go to school if these problems are fixed, but at the same time, I don't want to compromise with my future plans. So I'm trying to fix these problems. And if any schools fix these problems, then we are ready to go.
So, what is the number one problem that you want to see fixed before you agree to go back to school?
Mostly, I'd like to fix these current education problems, such as weighting and lifting, because due to this, we have to wait for a year to complete a grade, and I don't want to wait for an entire year. Maybe I'm good at a subject like biology, and I want to go further, but I have to wait for a year for each grade.
So, that's so unfair. I agree with you. Why should we have to wait? What about your aspirations when you talk to your friends or when you talk to your cousins or family friends and they talk about when they grow up what they want to do, what are some of the things that you think about when you're ready to be out there and working, what are some of the things that you want to start doing?
That's a good question, actually. So I believe I would like to be a scientist and innovator, and I would like to be an author, and I'd like to be a humanitarian because I love helping people. And as I told you, even if I wasn't a coder, I'd still be doing something to help the people.
I love how you're taking us down these different paths. Hana, who is your role model? Who do you look at in your life and think that person inspires you to do all the things that you're doing today?
Well, my first role model is my papa. He's the one who transformed us three females to what we are today. And some other role models of mine are Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, who are thinking out of the box and solving problems in real life. And some other role models would be Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King because they inspired me with their speech. And I I took qualities from them, whatever I needed.
What are some of the qualities that you've taken from them that you think you need?
Creativity, innovation, and thinking out of the box.
Do you think that you could think out of the box if you were at school?
Not actually.
Why?
That's a bit tough.
Do you think it's because of the weighting and the lifting that you talked about? Is that why you think you couldn't be outside the box?
Yeah, because I wanted to know more. I wanted to think out of the box and learn something, but I couldn't do that because of these two limitations.
Yeah, that must have been really hard. What did it feel like for you to be in the classroom and you knew that you wanted to learn more, but the teacher couldn't help you with what you were looking for?
When I got my first admission in school, I didn't feel much problems. But then we started feeling that some of the things we were learning were repeated. And I didn't really felt that good to learn things repeatedly that we already knew. And we also identified that it wasn't helping Lena's coding progress. And then we switched schools. And we searched schools all over. And then finally we stopped and started self-learning.
So, for people who don't know Lena, tell us who Lena is.
So Lena is my sister and she's my coding instructor. And in our story, she was the one who taught me how to code for most of the time. So this is where the journey started. So my papa had an edutech company. At the time, he suggested my mom to learn coding. So while my mom was learning coding, my sister Lena got interested by seeing how mom's code turned into graphics and objects. And mom provided Lena the basic HTML portals for her to learn coding. And at the age of 6, Lena created her own website called Hanas.com. The main initiative of this website was to help children learn and identify fruits, vegetables, and animals. During that period, there were some natural calamities happening in Kerala, India, and we were living there. Lena wanted to help the people within her capacity. So she created a story page about the flood and a donation campaign to convince people to support the donation campaign initiated by the Kerala government. And then I got inspired by seeing that whomever typed the name of the website, no matter wherever they was, the website would show. And slowly, I started following Lena. And Lena became my coding instructor. And she was happy to help me, even though I asked her lots of strange logical questions. And yet she's still here alive.
Hannah, would you say that Lena's a good teacher?
Yeah, she's a great
Does,
teacher.
does she let you think outside the box?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
And
lets me ask
who's Lena's teacher? I'm just curious. If Lena's teaching you, how old is Lena?
10 years old.
So you're 9, Lena's 10. She's your teacher. Who's teaching Lena now? Is it still your mom, or is she teaching herself?
She is teaching herself currently with a methodology, which is how to learn, created by my papa. So we are learning how to learn instead of what to learn. And what to learn is like you have to learn certain things, and some of those things may be not that useful for your future. You won't be using those things. And they may not be such helpful for your future.
So, what are some of the things that you believe are going to be helpful for your future?
Well, I think coding would be really helpful and research. Since I want to be a scientist, I need to learn research and development. And when we are doing our future goals, we'll also have to learn PCB, which is physics, chemistry, and biology, and mix them together to achieve our goals.
So, you're a public speaker. You speak in front of audiences and you're very confident. How did you learn how to do that?
Well, I think it was my parents who made me this confident and reach this level. And I think the maturity you're observing in me is because of my papa, who's our role model and made us who we are today.
When you look, I remember when we were talking on the panel, Women of Wisdom, there were many women from all ages on that panel. When you looked at all of those women, did you find that they were able to understand your thoughts, or did you think they still weren't the right people to be around?
I believe they were the right people, and anyone can be the right person unless they're open-minded.
Yes.
So I think whoever was listening to me in Women of Wisdom was an open-minded person.
They were all very open-minded. Hana, I'm going to ask you a question that I know you're very interested in because your father told me that you were interested in mental health issues. Why is that important for you? And when did you find that it was a topic that you needed to do more research about?
So, since we identified that the current education system wasn't helping us that much, we decided to study more about how the current education system affected the child's mental and physical health. And we started checking the global statistics from WHO, RCPCH, and Statista, and many more. But one research that shocked us was from Scientific American, published with the help of CDC data. And it had a heat map that showed how pre-students suicide from every 100,000. And that shocked us. And the heat map showed that on school weekends and vacations, the number of suicides were low, but on school days, they were high. So we understood that something had to connect with schools. And I'm not blaming that it was the current school education system. It may have been the ecosystem or bullying and those kind of stuff. So it could be those things, but definitely it has something related to schools.
Do you think that 9 years old is too young to be talking about suicide and mental health?
No.
Why not?
Because it's my research. And first of all, no matter what's my age, I can do research, so it doesn't matter.
So when you think about these statistics and when you think about the education system and when you think about your research and your interests, how do you want to use all of this knowledge, everything that you're learning in your future? You say that you want to help people. How do you want to help people with all of this knowledge?
Well, we are planning to do some future plans, and one of them is our Hana's Foundation, which is basically like teaching orphans coding if they want to learn coding, and whoever learned coding from this foundation has to teach another 10 kids. So it's basically like a chain.
Hana, I could go on and on and on and ask you so many questions, but we're going to bring this interview to a close. Before we do, when I look at you and I hear you, I see an incredibly inspiring 9-year-old Hana. When you look in the mirror, what do you see, Hana?
Well, I just see a normal 9 years old girl who got advanced education and is a coder who is self-learning and trying to fix the current education system and empower women, and loves to talk about how we need to fix the current education system, empowering women, and social media for kids.
Hana, thank you so much for being with me today. There's nothing else that we can add to everything that you've said. I mean, we're going to need like a whole academic year just to unwrap everything that you're talking about. I hope that you feel that your learning is not only helping you, I hope that you understand that every time that you speak in public, every time that you share your research, every time that you share your knowledge, you're helping adults to better understand how to help young children like you. So from one educator, that's me, just one small educator, I say thank you, Hana, for everything that you do. And I know that anybody watching this will also be inspired to do more research for themselves, because that's who you are. You're inspiring, Hana.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching. That was our incredible story with Hana Rafeeq, who is 9 years old and self-learning. And as you saw, she might be in the body of a 9-year-old, but her mind is ripe and thriving. And I think what I'm taking away from this interview is we need to stop bringing the standards lower for young children with the assumption that they're too young to learn more. I think Hana is evidence that young people are incredible and inspiring. Let's celebrate that and help them on their journeys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month when we bring another incredible interview to #Strong.
Bye.